So now let's time to shift our focus to the breaking developments. The twice delayed, highly anticipated space docking experiment, India's highly ambitious space exploration experiment, also known as SpaDeX, involving 2 satellites, might be happening very soon, as the Indian Space Research Organization has conducted a trial attempt to move the spacecraft from 15 meters up to 3 meters apart. Trial attempts to reach up to 15 meters and further up to 3 meters is done. As per the statement by the Indian Space Research Organization, they have said that it was moving back the spacecraft to the safer distances, and the docking process will be done after analyzing the full data. My colleague Belly Thomas has spoken to Guru Prasad, who is a former ISRO scientist, on SpaceX and also on the docking updates. Let's cut across to this conversation.
India is all set to become the 4th country after United States of America, Russia and China to successfully have this docking experiment. The docking experiment by ISRO under the SpaDeX mission has brought the 2 satellites, the target and the chaser, as close as 3 meters for now. Now the ISRO has put back the satellites in the safer distance, and the docking process is awaited after analysis from these satellites are obtained by the ISRO. So the mission as such, the PSLV C60 had launched the 2 satellites, SDX-1, which is called the chaser, and SDX-2, which is called the target, into the orbit, which is around 470 kilometers from the Earth's surface, and deployed those satellites in the orbit on December 31st. And these 2 satellites were deployed or released into the orbit with a 3-second gap, and they are at present revolving around the Earth with a velocity of around 28,800 kilometers per hour, and it is at this speed where the docking process would happen. The docking experiment would happen. Docking is the joining of the 2 satellites at this particular speed, and ISRO was successfully maneuvering these 2 satellites on Saturday night and Sunday morning, where it was drawn to a distance of initially to 105 meters, and then to 15 meters and to 3 meters, and then it was later put back into a safer distance, and the data analysis is happening, after which if there is a favorable window, then the docking experiment would be happening anytime sooner in a 2-window period. So I am joined by a former scientist at ISRO who is currently the director of Jawaharlal Nehru Planetarium here. He is Guru Prasad. Sir, what do you think of the docking experiment as such by ISRO, and what are the challenges that what you had come across?
Let me say, as a serious observer of space domain for the past 4 decades, and having worked in ISRO, and I would say it was a privilege for me looking at the technology which has grown there and made our country proud. I'm very optimistic. But let me tell you, ISRO has taken up this very, very challenging task of rendezvousing and docking 2 spacecraft in Earth orbit. As was mentioned, in this 470 kilometer orbit, the 2 spacecraft, the target and the chaser, both of them, as part of the SpaDeX experiment, they are moving at nearly 28,000 kilometers per hour. But at that speed, when they are moving, taking them away from each other first after launch, and slowly arresting their drift and slowly bringing them back at safer distances and making them to link together. Okay, docking means attachment of 2 spacecraft. In layman's terms, I would say it's not easy task. It is not easy. You have to be extremely cautious in controlling very, very, very precisely the speed or velocity of the spacecraft. Okay. Then only we'll be able to do it. And as was mentioned, they are very near to each other now. And ISRO, I'm sure that it would be very cautious in approaching this. And looking at the history of ISRO, it has taken up many challenging tasks. For example, look at Chandrayaan 3, the way in which it was meticulously landed on the south polar region of the moon. Not on the south pole itself, south polar region of the moon. Despite many challenges, that makes you optimistic, in fact, no doubt about it. And I'm sure that ISRO will be very cautious in accomplishing this, because this kind of thing is accomplished by the United States, the former Soviet Union and today's Russia, China, okay, and fourth country is India. Because, this extremely challenging tasks adds a new dimension to the Indian space program. Because
Sir, there has been, the one attempt of docking that happened, and the scientists, learned that there was an unexpected drift, between the satellites. So, in layman terms, like, how can you explain this particular thing? And are there any other challenges for the docking process as such?
see, as I told you, the velocity itself, let us say speed in a direction, that is 28,000 kilometers per hour. That is 1,000 times the speed with which I and you move in Bangalore roads, okay, average speed. 1,000 times the normal speed at which we are traveling on the road. Can you imagine? It is unimaginable. So at that speed, when they are moving, controlling their speed very minutely and bringing them together, making them to dock with each other, that means to link with each other firmly, okay, and do other things, operating both the satellites as a single entity, making the power to flow. It is not easy, it is not child's play. Technologically, one can give a lecture, but at the same time, from engineering point of view, accomplishing this is an extremely arduous task, I would say. In fact, from that point of view, I would say we will wish well for this challenging endeavor, because this technique, this technological experiment, which is done at quite a modest cost, will be very much essential. It will be an enabler for ISRO's and India's future ambitious programs like Chandrayaan 4. So as per the plans which are published, so the thing is 2 launches are required, and those spacecraft, 2 parts of the spacecraft will be made to meet in Earth orbit, and then the entire spacecraft will be sent towards the moon. Similarly, Bharatiya Antariksh Station. For that, modules have to be launched and linked together. That is rendezvous and docking again. That is what. And even for the ambitious human landing on the moon by, let us say, 2040, as the reports have told. And this technique is very much essential. So from the point of view of India's future ambitious programs and pragmatic programs, considering the level of technology which has grown in the country, space technology and the capability, so this experiment is very, very important as well as significant, I would say.
So that was Mr. Guru Prasad, who is a former scientist from ISRO and the director at present with the Jawaharlal Nehru Planetarium. And with this particular SpaDeX experiment, India opts to build a long-term vision of setting up a space station as such by 2030. With camera person Venkatesh Perumal, this is Billy Thomas for Newsx, Bengaluru.
Now viewers, let's time to shift our focus to other developments. Now from Kerala, where 14 people